Get your vitamin D right here with me and get excited about your life.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. You are tuned in to the Vitamin D podcast, and I'm your host, Dawn Dai. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And if you're a returning guest, listener, family, friend, member, what have you, I want to say it's good to have you back. Now, vitamin D is a multivitamin for your mind. It's where sometimes I take the lyrics of popular music and I intertwine into a motivational message. Having great conversations with everyday celebrities and people like you and me. Answering some advice letters. Heck, even just coming up with inspirational insights. Vitamin D is a means to help you get excited about your life. Now, while I traditionally would have an interview set up or perhaps have a stack of advice letters, I had to do a check-in to say what's going on, just to let you know what's going on with me. And I'm embarking on a new season. I don't know what your season is of growth, but mine is coming into the realm of expansion. A lot of things that when I was coming up, aspiring to leave Detroit, to just be more either in New York or LA, which I lived in New York and currently live in LA now. And I realized I'm beginning to learn to appreciate more the journey, the process. What I mean by that is that my old barber, because before I had locks, I had short blonde hair, Louis T. Powell. He says, the journey is the experience and the experience is the journey. Well, I knew that I wanted to be great, but I didn't realize the capacity it takes to be great. And I say that because I think that's oftentimes what we miss. And especially in the society today where a lot of things are microwavable, we have a sense of thinking things happen overnight. Not saying that things aren't possible, but learning to appreciate the journey because that's where the experience lies. And for me, you know, my dreams are, they're so big, it scares me. Truthfully, my aspiration is to be bigger than Oprah. And I say that because when I look at the expansion of what she's done, it's ginormous. And I want to be able to shed that vitamin D light on people. And as I'm going through the motions and they say, you got to be absolutely crazy for your dreams. You got to be crazy. And like I said, I'm realizing the craziness that it takes to hold into the capacity of it. Because when I think about the sleepless nights, when I think about the times that I wanted to stop, it's no wonder because I did and why I can say that I just got premiered on a television series. Yes, Little Dawn from Detroit. How even Vitamin D, this podcast you're listening to right now. My weekend segment on the Steve Harvey Morning Show. My participation in my improv comedy group, Cosmic Force Comedy, and taking class in improv at the Groundlings. And I see it paying off, but it's hard work. And even coming into the sense of when we talk about stepping into greater and appreciating the journey because it's the experience, it's about appreciating the hurt and the stress. And when I say stress, I mean the tension. Because sometimes stress is good because stress will get things moving when things are blocked. See, the key is not to resist the stress. It's allowed to make room so that the stress can flow. Because if you allow things to flow, the stress can go. Did you catch what I'm saying? If you allow things to go, the stress will go. Move with it. Okay, so check with me here. So as I'm stepping in this realm of all this greatness is going on, and I hope that maybe this can reach as something to you as well, is that appreciate the time that it takes. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now on my Vitamin D with Dawn Dai podcast had it not taken time going back from almost 10 years ago of working at Music Choice and having a vision thanks to Jonathan Lemon. He said, you know what, name something Vitamin D because it's a nourishment for the mind. Man, we change our minds. If you think about it, they say we only use like a peanut size of it and the capacity that our mind can hold if we can just step out and reach that. Well, that's what's happening. And I understand why it had to take that much time. So I want you to have grace with your time, because had I not had that time, I wouldn't be in the position where I can stand truthfully into what I am, to be in the discernment of what I want. Because oftentimes we can sit in complacement about what we don't want because we're afraid to speak what we do want. Because you have to speak what you seek until you see what you said. You have to speak what you seek until you see what you said. What do you want? So if I'm saying I want to be bigger than Oprah, right? That means I'm going to have to put in the work. That means I'm going to have to stretch and grow. That means until I get the money, I'm going to have to be the person that's coming up with the guests, that's going to be booking the guests, that's going to be putting up my podcast, that's going to be gathering the content, that's going to be making sure I get sleep, the man's just going to be making sure that I'm working out, the one that's going to be making sure I have time for my family, making sure I have time for my friends. That's the one I'm going to be. So I just want to challenge you, or not even challenge you. I just want to say with you, just to be patient. Be patient with yourself and enjoy this journey, this experience. Understand that when you ask for greatness, you got to keep in mind the capacity you can hold. And you only get stronger by one rep at a time. One rep at a time. And it has to be something that you're consistent at. And even when everything is against you, all the odds are placed against you, you got to keep being persistent until you get it. If it says that God says, greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world, what can you not do? I mean, if you're a true believer in dreams, if you're a true believer in receiving what it is that you want, what is it that you cannot have? Nothing. But the question lies, are you willing to work for everything? And you know what has to make you happy? That's what I'm realizing, because you got to be crazy to go after your dreams. You got to be crazy to go after something that not everyone can see. Heck, because you're in the process, it's still unraveling to you. So what do you want? What does it look like? Are you willing to go the mile to seek it out? I know I am, but I get tired. And I say I get tired. Sometimes I just have to pause. I just have to rest. Sometimes I just have to cry. Sometimes I just got to get it out. But more importantly, I know that I just got to keep going. You know, I had Lyris Cross on the show, and I really appreciate something that she said. Like, when we talk about God, when we talk about dreams, when we talk about being amazing, when we talk about being outstanding, when we talk about being extraordinary, it's outside the perimeters. When we talk about being outside of our comfort zone, they say that's where the magic happens. Well, heck, that's when you put the super on it. And she said, you got to go ahead and do everything that you can, even when you're tired, even when you don't want to keep going, even when you don't know the next path and the direction to take. You just got to keep going, because when you keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing everything you can do in the natural, well, then you allow room to God to put the super on it. What? You hear what I'm saying? Faith without works is dead. That's why you got to be sure to know what you're asking for. That's why you have to value the journey so you can experience the experience. Because then that's when you figure out, is it what you want? When everything's flashing before us, it's all so good to say, oh, I want that. I want to be this. I want to do that. Well, essentially, it's still just unraveling. And see, that's why I pull it back to the groundlings, and why I appreciate them, why I appreciate the craft of improv so much, the art, is because all you can do is say yes and say yes. And you even see how I say that I have to put an exhale on it. Yes. And because we're building. And you know, like that stress is nothing different from the contractions that a mother experienced to giving birth. I haven't had, a baby yet, but I can experience cramps. It's a contraction. Heck, we've all experienced some sort of cramp. It's a tension. It's a movement. It's an energy. It's a vibe, electricity. And when you release, you stretch, you release it, you let go. It feels good. It's a creation of something new. But guess what? You got to let go so that it can flow. And see, when you get out the way and stop worrying about if your next step is going to lead to your next step and just continue just to take the step, then that's when you realize you give God the room to put the magic on it. You give God the room to put the super on it. Well, guess what? I've had time to take some time to realize that my dreams don't work unless I do. Sometimes I'm getting up at 4 a.m. and not going to bed till 11. Sometimes I'm having to go across the country because there's a family emergency. Sometimes I have friends and relationship loss that knocks the wind out of me, but I got to keep going. Even Jesus fell down 3 times and kept going. Even Martin Luther King said he had a dream. Speak what you seek until you see what you said. You know, I had a friend the other day who were talking, and he has a lot of celebrity friends and clients, and was talking about one friend and whom had a show and basically decided not to continue with another show. And said, oh man, you know, that's just favor. How do you omit the fact of not going after the show? And then somebody offered you another show and the friend said, hey, this doesn't align with me and with my purpose. Now here, wait, check me out. Where am I going with this? This friend that I'm speaking of is so talented, can do things unimaginable because guess what? We all can because we have the gift, right? But the question is, who's going to tap? I didn't say discover. I said tap into the potential. And see, even when you tap on something and when you tap it hard enough, even that has to break. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, I say all that to say is I'm thinking to myself, who are you to judge in the circumstances to somebody if they're well known, they took a chance on their dreams to decipher what it is that they should do? You don't have the same stakes. You don't know what it's like to go outside the parameter, to step in the realm of where the extra lies. So we even go from that point when you think about it. We even talk about love and we talk about giving from the overflow. See, when we do everything in our realm, we allow God to put the extra, the super on it. We also realize that when it's in the overflow, when it's in the extra, when it's in the abundance, when we talk about more prosperity and abundance, you realize that it's nothing that you're lacking. Are you checking what I'm saying? So if you're doing everything that you can meet up, whether that is tapping into your potential, doing everything that you can, that's when you'll realize that every day God has placed favor on your life. Sometimes it's easy to look at someone else because their favor is packaged a little differently. Well, guess what? The greater the vision, the greater the reward. Some of the most beautiful places in the world have some of the most disastrous storms. So is it a thing we look at somebody and we say on their life like, wow, they got favor? Or is it more so, wow, they tapped into their true potential? Because the promise is there. If you honor, believe in yourself, we see it as a little kid that we can do any and everything. At what point did we stop? Is it because they started telling us to stand in line? Is it because we got to the point that we didn't realize whether or not we had the capacity to hold it? I say all this to say to that friend is, how dare you? Who are you to speak on how somebody chooses to live out a favor that has been bestowed upon them? A favor that we would have never had a glimpse of had they not taken a chance on themselves. But more so, why haven't you taken a chance on yourself? What is it that you want? You said that you wanted to be great. You said that you wanted to be amazing. Well, guess what? That's going to take growth. And it goes back to what I've been saying is having the capacity to hold it. Well, you're only going to know the capacity you can hold because it's going to take time. And the time is going to require you to be consistent. So this is a word for me to be consistent and just to keep going. Because sometimes I want to stop. Heck, I think sometimes we all want to stop, right? Well, could you imagine if your body decided to take its last breath? It doesn't. It just keeps going, right? Until it's time to take the last breath. So that goes into the notion of just still living while you're still alive. Go after your dreams while you can still see them. The greater the vision, the greater the reward. So that's my check-in. I'm grinding, y'all. It's no joke. Sometimes, and people are like, how you doing, Dawn? I'm like, I'm good. But when they say it's always something because it is always something. And I think that's why there comes in the notion of looking at life like a yin and a yang. Looking at life the same as the sun that rises in the day and the moon that sets at night. There's a light and a dark. It's never one that without the other. We just get so caught up in thinking there has to be all one way. God didn't have a one-way vision. God's vision is universal. Do you hear what I'm saying? It doesn't cut off. It's a continuation. Heck, if he's the light and the way, if you even look at the sun, it's a complete circle. Stop playing with me. The beginning and the end starts there. Stop playing with me. Sometimes I kiki at myself, but I say all that to say there's always going to be something. And if you're going after your dreams, understanding that you are expanding your capacity, because it takes more than what you are right now. It's going to take more than where you are right now. It's going to take more strength than what you have right now, because you are seeking to be more than who you are right now. Not saying that you're enough, but you're talking about a new thing. And when discovering a new thing, you realize the experience is the same thing as the AKA discovery. You're going to realize that some things are challenging, Dawn. You're going to realize that some things are going to require you to take less sleep, Dawn. You're going to realize that you're going to have uncomfortable conversations because you're setting boundaries, Dawn. But I appreciate the time that it took, because now I got greater things at stake. My dreams are manifesting. And whether you're listening to the podcast, you're watching me on TV, you're following me on social media, you see them unraveling. And it's not a one-way ticket. It's not just a one size fits one. It's a one size fits all, as long as you show up and decide to be the one. That's what Lyris was saying. You got to show up. I'm showing up for my dreams. I'm showing up for my life. I'm showing up for who I am. I'm getting so uncomfortable. I'm doing things that scare me. I'm realizing that things don't have to be perfect. I just gotta keep going. And I guess I'm just getting emotional because that's what it takes to be great. And I want to do another thing and say this on the check-in. As I've been building up for this moment to even have this podcast, I've been asking God in my meditation, I said, please heighten my level of discernment, because God promised me, and I got a promise on my life, and I can't miss it. Now, the reason I'm getting emotional is because that whole situation of being uncomfortable, the stress, the strain, the stretch that it causes so that you can hold the capacity, is that we ask God, and we're grateful to have things, right? We said we want more in abundance, but realizing what it takes to hold that. So as I'm in this process and my dreams are unraveling and I'm stretching and I'm growing, I said, God, give me this level of discernment. And what I'm learning now in the experience of my journey, because again, the journey is the experience, is that I'm realizing that it's going to require some sort of capacity for me to hold. What that looks like is that if I've asked God to show me the discernment of people, right? Whether it be my family, whether it be my friends, whether it be my coworkers, so that I can truly see who they are. So what happens when the wolf takes off the sheep's clothing? Huh? What happens when that awesome opportunity, your spirit, your gut is telling you no? You got to be able to hold it, because what you realize is there's an uncovering, there's an unveiling so you can live your best life. Well, guess what? When the lights have been off for so long and you've asked God to be great and the lights cut on, it might blind you for a second. Do you understand the purpose of the journey? See, the journey is the same thing as getting you equipped. The journey is allowing you to see the light. The journey is to say, this is the light in the way, and I'm not going to blind you, and I'm not going to take you out. So that's what I want to do with vitamin D. It's going to be a lot of unraveling with me. And I want to say this too. I know God got some stuff for me. Some things that I'm not sure if I fully understand the capacity of it. But I'm going to speak this. I'm going to preach. I mean, I probably already do it now, but I think probably I probably walked away from it, or the notion of it, because of what I felt the weight had to be bared on my shoulders. I remember my 8th grade teacher, Miss Carmo. May she rest in peace. I went to Catholic schools, and I would always read like the first readings or the readings and the petitions. Now, raised Baptist, Catholic school. Now, I'm non-Christian, but I believe in God. She said, oh, she's going to be a preacher one day. And I ran. I was like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? That means I have to be somewhere. I have to be this person. And it's like, no. God just wants you to show up as you are, because I got a gift. I got a gift with words. I got a voice that can move mountains. I didn't have people to save, and something I had said has saved their lives. So I got to do that. And see, this is an example of what Lyris is saying. I just got to keep showing up. Because when I get caught up in what the package got to look like and how it has to seem, I done forgot what the gift actually is. And the gift is doing everything in the way that God made me, so he can put his super on it. Vitamin D gonna change some lives. Heck, vitamin D is changing my life. I didn't know I was going to get so emotional, but I want you to see me, and I want you to hear me, and I want you to understand that you got greatness inside of you. And it was something that my mother taught me. Rest her soul, Janice Hill. She just always taught me to be confident in yourself and step in assurance of knowing who you are. And we hear that because they say, in order to know who you are, you got to know whose you are. Greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world. Now, whether you want to go in a Christian perspective, it's just saying tap into you. Love thy neighbor as I love thyself. Just love you and edify each other. We're supposed to be a reflection of light. Think about it. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Are you going to let it shine? Are you going to let it shine? Heck, there's an energy jolt that we may experience, like I talked about the cramps and the contractions, if you think about when fire is ignited. That was me making the noise. But no, honestly, seriously. Are you ready to ignite your life? Are you ready? Because you asked God for more. You asked for this. But remember, like I told you, how I didn't really take in consideration the capacity of what it's going to take to hold it? Stay consistent by being persistent. Because all you're doing is stretching. God is stretching you. Your arms are stretching for the blessings in abundance. Remember, you have to speak what you seek until you see what you said. The greater the vision, the greater the reward. So this went everywhere and around everywhere to just everything. So that's what this check-in of vitamin D was about. I hope that was something for you, because it was something for me. And I just want to say I love you. And because, this was a check-in and I wanted to do the advice letters, I'm going to put up a bonus episode. Shout out to Ian. Thank you for that idea. Because, sometimes life is, but I feel like this may have given somebody something today. I hope it gave you something. Shoot, it sure did give me something, and I needed this. And that's what I mean about stop having to have things be perfect. Just go with the flow. Let the ego and just flow. Well, look at it. You never know what you're going to get on the Vitamin D podcast. Well, that's it. I want to encourage you to continue to come back. We're on every platform that you hear all of your favorite podcasts. If you have any questions, inquiries, if you want to be a guest, go ahead and shoot us an email at VitaminD@DawnDaiSpeaks.com. That's VitaminD@DawnDaiSpeaks.com, and we'll get back to you. We're interested in sharing stories and insights. As long as you got a message to inspire, come over here. We aspire to have you. All right. And if this is not enough and you want to get me more consistently than maybe once or sometimes twice a week, I want to encourage you to follow me on social media. You can follow me at Dawn Dai Speaks on Instagram and Twitter. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of Vitamin D. Until next time, always remember, you are your greatest asset.